So let's talk about project management and change management. And I know this is a project management class, so this first half should be pretty quick, right? Project management gets the change ready for the business. So the way that I look at it is, if you have a let's I'm gonna use an IT term here, a computer term, right? If you have a new system that is being implemented for your department or for your company, the system is the change, and you've got to get that change ready for the business. The business is obviously the people, right? So I've got to develop a system. I've got to train people on the system. I've got to make sure that the system works. I've got to test the system. I've got to get the change ready for the business. Okay. And the three words to best describe project management are get it done, right? The project manager is expected to lead the team to get it done. Now, you're going to have some constraints. You're going to have scope. You're going to have your timeline. You're going to have your budget. And your boss is going to say, I want all three. I want it good, I want it fast, and I want it cheap. And you're going to say you can pick any two, right? Obviously, the scope, they want it good. They want the most scope they can get. The timeline, they want it fast. They don't want to wait. Why should they? And they want it cheap. They don't want to spend a lot of money. And the fact of the matter is, if you think you can deliver all three, you are kidding yourself. You can deliver any two because when you add scope, it's going to cost more money. It's going to take more time. And you could say, well, I can give you more money. Okay. But it's still going to take more time. Or I can give you more time. Okay, but I still need to add more people to the team. And so you got that triple constraints there that I'm sure you've learned about. And that's all related to project management. Project management addresses the technical side of a change. Now, the technical side, I don't just mean IT and I don't mean programming and computers. The technical side can really be anything. It can be IT and computers, as such as a new system. But what if your project was to host an event? Your project could be to put on the NFL draft, which I believe is later tonight, right? So that's a perfect segue. You have to reserve a space. You have to get the media informed. You have to make sure there are enough restrooms. You have to make sure there are enough food. Perhaps you're going to have vendors that are selling something. You have to make sure there are TV cameras, enough lighting. There's a lot going on with a large event. And so the technical side, maybe knowing how to do it and in what order to do it in. The same thing goes for a large wedding planner, right? You have to get a cake, you have to book a pastor, you have to get a venue. You're going to assume that the dress is up to the bride, but you want to make sure that flowers and food and so forth. So it's a lot of event planning. You have to know what to do and the order that you need to do it in. All right. So any project is going to have technical side of the change. Let's say you're constructing a building. Okay. You have to know that you have to work with the local authorities to quarantine off the area. You've got to work with electrical, gas, water lines to make sure you're not going to break anything. You have to get the permits. You have to get the construction crew, the materials on site, not too early because you don't want to have too many materials and so on and so forth. So project management addresses that. Organizational change management. So if project management gets the change ready for the business, organizational change management gets the business ready for the change. So now the shift moves from the technical side over to the people side. All right. So project management gets it done. Change management gets it used. Okay, so let's talk about a new computer system here. If I put out a new computer system and it's great, it can do everything in the world, but no one uses it. Well, then is that a success? Not really. The project manager may think, and the entire project team may think, hey, we delivered it on time, on budget, and we gave you the whole scope. But if no one uses it because they don't know how, or they're afraid, or they don't like it, or it's not doing what they needed to do, then it really wasn't an overall success. Okay. So it's the two sides of the coin. Get it done and get it used. Combine that equals success. So while project management works in constraints, scope, timeline, and budget, change management works in knowledge and behaviors. Okay? So you're going to communicate that knowledge. Here is the information that you need. Here is what this new system does. Here's how to do it. You're also going to do a little bit of sales. Here is why this change is good for you. Here's why you should want the change, right? If I told you You all have to, let's see, Dr. Shen mentioned Jira. If I said we're going to shift from Jira and you have 10 years experience in Jira and we're going to go to this other tool, you're going to say, well, wait a minute, I know Jira. I'm pretty good at Jira. I'm pretty fast at Jira. I don't want to change. Okay, we're going to a new tool. Here's why. Here's the sales pitch as to why you should want this. It's a little bit faster. It's a little bit better. It can do these other things. So it shifts from knowledge, here's what it does, and behaviors, here's why you should want it, and here's how to interact with it. All right. We also, on change management side, provide a lot of training. We want to prepare everyone for the new change. That may be a new building, an event, right? If it's the NFL draft, I have to prepare the announcer. Here are the order that we're going to do things. If it's at a wedding, here's the order that we're going to have. We're going to have the wedding. We're going to cut the cake. We're going to take the photos, throw the bouquet, and so forth, right? And the same thing goes for any IT system. Here's how to use the system, and here's when to use the right tool in the system. Obviously, change management encounters resistance, right? I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it that way. I'll just do it the old way. Resistance management, learning how to overcome that resistance among the users of the new system or the new tenants of the new building and so forth. That's where organizational change management comes into play, and that's what gets it used. Institutionalization, meaning we solidify the change. We take whatever's normal now, we introduce a change, and we make that the new normal. And that's institutionalization. So it's rewarding people who adopt whatever it is we're introducing. It's also, and sometimes this is unfortunate. It's providing some negative reinforcement on the people who don't make the change, right? We were all children at one point. We all had to go through this. Our parents said, do this. We said no, and something happened to us. Whether we got put in the corner, had the iPad taken away from us, whatever it was, there was negative reinforcement there to make sure we did what we were supposed to do. There's also positive reinforcement. Hey, good job. Great work. Let me give you a little bit of a bonus check. Let me give you some accolades. Let me treat you to dinner, something like that. There's positive reinforcement. There's negative reinforcement. But all in the end, we want to make the change the new normal. That's institutionalization. And I mentioned project management addresses the technical side of change. Organizational change management addresses the people side of change. So if you find yourself being less of a technical person, the scope, the timeline, the budget, they're great. If you struggle with those, but you're good with people, it's a good thing to think about organizational change management. It's another side of the coin. Both have the same end goal. Something is changing. We want to get it developed or get it created. We want to get it used. You work hand in hand to get that done. So if you find yourself on the wrong side of the path, try the other one. So what? So let's talk about the transitional process. All right. This is where we're going to get a little scientific with the graph here. So over time, you have your current state, whatever that is, driving an automatic car, working in a system, whatever your current state is, right? For all of you, your current state was going to high school for 4 years. College was a very new thing. I remember when I was going, it was a very different thing. I lived on campus. I was on my own. That alone was a big thing. If I didn't show up to class, no one cared. That was on me. That's not the same as high school, right? It's a lot different. And I had to do the reading on my own. I couldn't wait for the professor to say, hey, read this chapter. I was expected to just read it in advance, right? So that's the current state. So when a change is implemented, this is what happens. A dip in performance is expected. Whatever that change is, a dip in performance is expected because you're brand new to something. You are expected to not be as good as you are doing the old thing. Over time, you start to get used to it. You start to improve, and eventually you adopt the change. You're going full force. By my sophomore year of college, I was in the college mode. I was used to it. But my freshman year was a little rough, right? Learning how to drive a stick. Those first 2 months, those are rough, especially when you go uphill, right? Those are rough. You got to learn how to do that. It takes time. So you will have a dip in performance, but eventually, with enough time, you will adopt the change. And that is when the benefits of the change are realized. So when you introduce the change, a new system, a new building, whatever it is, a new process, you will have a dip in performance, and over time, you should exceed the original performance. All right. Without change management, there's no guarantee that you get here. Some people abandon the change halfway through. Change management helps you get there faster so that you don't abandon the change. All right. This scenario that I'm showing here, this is the wishful thinking, right? I flick a switch, everything's just better. On day 2, I announce the change and everything's just better. We're running at a higher efficiency and a better speed and everyone's happy. That doesn't happen. That's wishful thinking, right? That's what I call the in your dreams transitional process. Well, we'll get better slowly over time. Again, this does not happen. You don't start to get better on day 1, you start to get worse. All right. So that's what this represents. You have a dip and you eventually come back up. Now, with change management, we have some changes to this transitional process. All right. There are 3 changes. The first is the dip in performance is not as steep. So you will have a dip. It will be less of a dip because change management handles training, right? They make sure that you are ready to go on your job. Are you going to be great at it on day 1? No, no one ever is. But you will be better than if you didn't have the change management piece with it. Also, the change, because the dip in performance is less, it's faster to get the change adopted. So if we're planning a 3-month acceptance period, we could probably shorten that to 2 months, maybe even a month and a half, and if we're lucky, 1 month. So we can get the change adopted faster to get those benefits realized. That ROI, that return on investment, can be realized a lot sooner. And with change management, more of the change is going to be adopted overall. So if we go from one system that has 10 features, and I go to another system, introducing another system that has 20 features, those 10 are going to be needed right away. Maybe we get an 11th in. Someone says, oh, I'm doing the 10 that I was doing, and I found this other one. Well, with change management, that's more likely going to be 15, 16, 17 even. You may never get all 20 used, but you're going to get more of those features used than if you didn't have change management. So 3 benefits right there on the process overall. So now what? Now let's talk about how to add change management into your project management toolbox. Number 1, there is no success without adoption. And I say this as a person who was in project management alone for over half a decade. I was delivering projects. I was delivering them on time, under budget, with the full scope. Sometimes there was a phase 2. We released more things, and they weren't getting used. And my boss would say, hey, you did this project, but it's not really being used. And I would say, well, that's not my job. My job was to deliver it. And I did with my team. We delivered this. Well, without adoption, there is no success. And so I want you, if you have an opinion of, like I did, and I admit that I did, if you have this opinion of, well, I did my job, that's someone else's job, you got to scratch that from your brain. All right. Because overall, it's the project success of delivery plus adoption. And so you want to work together to make sure that happens. Otherwise, you did a lot of work for nothing, right? And that's not a feel good for anyone. Okay, so if this is time, right, and I'm using a mountain as an example here, we're going to do mountain climbing, right? So we initiate our project at the beginning of the red line there. And eventually, through initiation, you figure out what you're doing, why you're doing it. Okay, now we have our project kickoff. That's what we call base camp, our project kickoff. And we are climbing Mount Success. And eventually, you reach the peak, delivery. Delivery is our peak. The project is done, whatever that project is. Well, with change management, there's another peak, right? The delivery is just step 1. The overall peak, the ultimate goal is adoption. Okay, and this is why I say there's no success without adoption. If you deliver and you walk away, it's probably not going to be adopted or not going to be adopted quickly. So you want to reach that second peak, and that's where change management comes into play. So you want to add your organizational change management tasks into your timeline early. You do not start at delivery. You start all the way back here at the beginning. You want to plan your project with change management tasks up front, because the longer you have to adopt a change, the more likely you are to adopt it. If I told you tomorrow, we're taking away your car and we're going to give you a manual stick shift car, and I'll give you training tomorrow. It'll be fine. You'll be okay. You'll probably say, no, I'm very nervous. I have appointments I need to get to, and I'm not going to be able to make those. I don't know how to do this. But if I tell you, hey, a month from now, we're going to do this, I'm going to train you 2 weeks from now so that you have 2 weeks to practice. Well, when that delivery comes, when I hand you the keys to that other car, you're going to say, okay, I think I'm ready. You may not be all the way ready, but you're going to be more ready than you are if I didn't provide that up front. So you want to add the OCM tasks in early to the project. And as a project manager, the change manager is your friend. Yes, they will be asking for some of your budget. They will be asking for more time on things, right? Causing headaches for you. But the end goal is adoption, and they are doing it because they want to see the change, your project, get used. And so you have to treat them as your friend, not your adversary. We are all one team. Let's all get it done. How can I help you? Right? Also, as a project manager, I implore you to learn more about change management. There is a very real financial reward for doing so. If you can understand project management and you can understand change management, number one, your opportunities just doubled. Okay. Your career opportunities. But even if you stay with the same employer, having another skill in your toolbox means that you can communicate and coordinate with better people. You can also fill in and step in, and you can think of things that some other project managers go to think of. So getting a job, it should help you because you have more skills. But in the job, it's going to help you as well because you're going to think about the pitfalls before they happen. Something I could not do the first 5 years I was a project manager because I didn't know about change management. And finally, if you think, you know what, I'm the type of person who likes to check things off. I like to cross things out. I like to communicate and coordinate, make sure everything stays on track. Project management is a good career choice. If you think, well, I'm more of an artistic person. I like to live on the fringe, live around the edges. I don't like to have rules. I'm more of a people person. I'm more about a relationship. Perfectly acceptable. Different strokes for different folks, right? Think about OCM as your career, not necessarily project management. Now, even as a change manager, it's good to have those project manager skills. And I always say you want to marry the two of them because they are two sides of a coin. All right, some key takeaways, and then we'll jump into some questions here. A, never stop learning, period. Never stop learning. College, your bachelor's degree, your associate's degree, it's just the first step. Once you graduate and you get a job, you will be learning in that job. Continue to build your skills outside of your job, and that way you can increase your raises, your bonuses, your promotions, or you can just find another job, a different job that suits you. And this is where your career path starts to look like a tree. You never quite know where it's going to end up. But never stop learning because it does give you opportunities that you simply will not have if you choose to stop learning. And it is a choice. I know family comes in the way. I know friends get in the way. I know financial situations get in the way. But there are always ways to learn, especially with the internet. Everything is free these days almost. So never stop learning. Now, you can become a deep learner, a lot of knowledge in one or a few subjects, and you will become an expert. This is what rocket scientists are, right? They are very knowledgeable in a certain set of skills. That is a good thing to be. You can be an expert. Or you can become a wide knowledge person. Give me a little bit of information in a lot of areas. These are your leaders, your CEOs, your CIOs, your CFOs, your directors, your vice presidents. That's what they are. They have enough knowledge in certain areas that they can put it all together. Very few people can do that. If you have the financial background, the technical background, the people background, and you can put that all together, you will be successful. Are you going to be as successful as a rocket scientist? You could be, but I can't, a leader, a CEO of the rocket manufacturing company, Elon Musk is a he's the exception to the rule. The CEO can't compete with the rocket scientists' knowledge of the rockets, right? Because they are the experts. So you can either go deep or you can go wide. You make a decision, but both have opportunities. You are responsible for your career. Okay. Not your parents, not your boss, not your degree. As I mentioned, you could have a degree in chemistry and become an IT professional. You can have a degree in programming and decide to write books. You will have to do some learning, right? You will have to work with a publisher and learn these things, but you can do it. But you are responsible for your career. You can't wait around for your boss to give you a raise because you think you've earned it and you think they know that. They've got a team of 20 people. You are not at the top of their mind. I guarantee you. They are at the top of their mind. And 1/20th of the remaining brain power they have is you, right? If they have 20 people. So you got to make sure that you are responsible for your career. Don't expect people to know things. If you want to have a discussion, say, hey, I want to be put on the big projects. I want to be seen. And if you don't want that, you can say, hey, I'm okay taking any project. But you got to understand where you're at, and you got to understand that you're a boss, and you need to have a very, very uh, coordinated understanding of your career path. You are in charge of it. And your financial situation does not matter, right? A lot of you are going to graduate with debt. I understand that. I graduated with a lot of debt, and then my wife got a lot of debt when we got married. We both went for degrees. I went and got a master's degree. You are going to get a lot of debt. That does not dictate your job. If you're in a job because you are making so much money and you need to pay the bills, right? That's always the saying, pay the bills. You can change careers. It may be a step back. That is a decision you have to make. You may need to make sacrifices, but your financial situation does not dictate your career. So just remember that. And last but not least, always be open to change. It is going to happen no matter what. Change is inevitable. Change is a guarantee in life. Things are going to change. A couple of years ago, we had a big change, right? 2020, we had COVID. The world was locked down, right? We all had to change. Now I'm giving this presentation through Zoom. This would not have happened in 2019, 2018, certainly not back in 2005. So things will change. They're out of your control. It's really good to be adaptable. And the way you be adaptable is to keep learning. You learn new skills so that when that situation comes up, you know a little bit about it. You've handled something similar before, and now you're ready to adapt and succeed. So that's it. I'm happy to take questions. If anybody wants me to go back and talk about a point that I talked about in this presentation, I'm happy to do it. But yeah, let's see if we have any questions. How do you integrate change management frameworks into traditional project management methodologies like Agile or Waterfall? Well, thank you for the question. It's really good to hear Agile is now a traditional project methodology because when I started my career, Agile was the new thing. So it's good to hear that's traditional now. So how do we integrate change management frameworks into traditional project management methodologies? Well, when it comes to, let's talk about waterfall for a minute because that's the really old one. Um, when you're going through the waterfall phase, and I'm going to speak in a technical IT computer science type of language here. You have to gather the requirements, you design the solution, you test the solution, and then you release and support the solution, right? And so, how do you do change management? Well, when you're gathering the requirements, you want to understand why. That's the big one. Why are we doing this? All right. Not only, as the project manager, you want to understand why we're doing it, why we're doing it now, and what happens if we don't do it. If you can understand that, then when you encounter resistance for your project, you can answer those questions. Here's why we're doing it. Here's why we're doing it now. And here's what happens if we don't do it. The first two should be positive. The third one should be negative, right? We're doing this because it's going to make the company more money. Why are we doing it now? Because we cannot wait. If we're last to market, we're not going to make a lot of money. We need to make more money now. What happens if we don't do it? Well, the business could shut down and we could all be out of a job, right? So that's why we're doing it, why we're doing it now, and what happens if we don't do it. So now when you encounter resistance, you can address those concerns. And I would say you want to introduce change management early and you want to get a feel for how does everyone feel about this job. Again, change management is a lot about behaviors and feelings, right? So if everyone answers a survey, for example, and say you're surveying 100 people and 75 of them say, I don't know why we're doing this, your project is going to encounter resistance. You're as a project manager, you may say, "Hey, I need your help on this. You're my subject matter expert. I need your answers to something." But if they don't want to do it because they're afraid of it or they don't like it, you're not going to get the best answers that you can. And you can only work with the information you're given. So by having a change manager take a survey and address the concerns that are brought up in that survey, that you'll start as a project manager, you'll start to get those answers and that support that you need, even from leadership, vice presidents, directors. I've worked with a lot of them who don't want to see change. They're very comfortable in their position, and any type of disruption is not a good thing. So that's how you would introduce it to waterfall. Agile is a little bit different because that's more of a we don't know where we're going. We're just going to keep delivering something until we get there, until we say it's good enough. But again, you want to address those questions early and often. You want to take note of, do you understand why we're doing this? Great. Do you want to do it? Because if there's no desire, then that's the next tackle, right? That you need to make. So it's, are you aware of what we're doing? Do you want to do it? Do you know how to do it? Are you trained that you're confident enough to do it? If you can answer those four questions in that order, you will be introducing change management. And so when someone says, no, I don't know why we're doing it, address that. I do know why we're doing it, but I don't want to do it. Okay, now let's talk about that, right? So a lot of psychology comes in here of why don't you want to do it? Is it a fear? Do you think the other way is better? And depending on the answer, I'm going to have to, depending on what they say, I'm going to have to provide a different answer. So as the change manager, I need to be very, very in touch with exactly what we're doing and why, so that I can address the resistance of other people. What's the biggest mistake you have seen a new project manager make in their early career? Not focusing on relationships. That's easily number one. It's what I did, but it's also what I've seen a lot of my peers do. You need to focus on the relationships. So a lot of project managers, they want to get it done, and they usually want to get it done at any cost. So that means I want to hit my timeline. I'm going to be badgering people to give me their updates. Where are we with this? Where are we with that? You said you were going to get this done. It's not done. When is it going to get done? And so forth. You got to focus on the relationships. Getting it done is important. You cannot only focus on relationships. Say, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just, it'll be a little bit late, but that's okay. No, 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 no. We have to get it done, but we have to get it done and keep our relationships. And this is where I said my number one problem was people skills. I didn't have that skill. A lot of project managers don't have that skill, especially in IT. So I would say you want to build those relationships, not to the detriment of the project. I'm not going to let things slide, but we have to have cordial accountability. All right. So I want to say, hey, you agreed to deliver this. It didn't get delivered. What happened? Right. I don't want to accuse. I want to ask what happened. If they say, well, I had a parent pass away. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Right. If they say, well, I was working on something else, and you go, okay, now you address that situation. What else are you working on? Because if that's a higher priority, I understand. I'll go to my boss and explain the situation. Right. So it's asking a lot of questions, understanding and focusing on those relationships, so that you can deliver, but also not leave a wake of wreckage while you deliver. Right. So that I would say is the biggest mistake I've made and what I've seen others make. What are the biggest risks you typically encounter during automation projects, and how do you manage them to keep timelines and budgets on track? When it comes to automation projects, if the manual process is not fully thought of and written down and documented, you will run into one-off scenarios. Okay, so if someone's doing a step 1 through 5, okay, step 1 through 5, what I call the yellow brick road, right? If we've seen The Wizard of Oz or Wicked, you know the yellow brick road. So it's the perfect path. If everything goes as it should, we have step 1 through 5. Okay. What happens if you wander from the yellow brick road? When step 3, we get an answer that we're not expecting, or a step that we're not expecting, or a delay or something, what happens? If you don't prepare for that, your automation is only as good as all of the scenarios you put in there. So if you've only put the perfect scenario and something doesn't go perfectly, what happens to the automation? You're fixing it on the fly. And if you're fixing it on the fly, that means it wasn't ready from the beginning. You didn't think it all the way through. So you want to ask those questions early so that you can think of all the scenarios. Now, do you address 100% of the scenarios? No. If something has a 1% chance of happening, you can probably let that go. If it has a 10% chance of happening, yeah, I want to think about it. If it has a 25% chance of happening, yes, absolutely think about it. That's going to happen a lot, right? 1%, tenth of a percent, maybe I let that go and I just deal with it when it happens, right? So that's the consideration you make with the time and the money. Is it worth it? But you do need to think of it, at least write down all of the various scenarios for automation. What project management methods or tools have been most effective for your team, and how did you decide on them? Well, it depends on the type of project. I would say for waterfall projects, Microsoft projects, I don't know if that's still around. I think they changed it to something else just last year. That was a great tool for me. Even using Microsoft Excel can be fine. Using SharePoint, I'm going to be honest, I still use pen and paper. I'm trying to hold up my book here, it's fading out. I still use pen and paper to track a lot of things. That's nothing wrong with that because it changes so quickly and they open up a new tool and update it there. I'd rather write it down in my book and at the end of the day make all of the changes because writing it down really puts it in your brain. And then when you make the change online, you're seeing it again. And so it kind of reinforces your memory. For agile projects, I really like Jira. It's a good tool. It does have some quirks to it, but once you get used to them and you figure out how to work around them, it's a great tool. And my preference for being an IT person is agile. Now, for construction projects, you can't go agile, right? You have to go waterfall because you know exactly the type of building you're building. I can't build 3 floors and open them up while I'm building floor 4. That won't work. I need to build the entire thing and then open the building. So waterfall is the way to go for something like that. How do you gain people skills throughout your career? Good question. Number one, you got to be open to it, and you got to be honest with yourself. If you're not good with people, number one, admit it. Right? You have to say, you know what, this is not my strong suit. So you find someone who is good with people, and you learn from them. You could follow them online on social media. You could talk to your family, your friends. Find someone who's good with people. Someone who's in sales is very good with people. They have to be, or they don't eat. So find someone in sales, someone who maybe has a front desk job, a customer service job, something like that, and just say, here's what gets me frustrated. How do you handle that? Right? Just have conversations. You can do this over lunch with your peers. It doesn't have to cost you anything to do this. Just learn from other people. And eventually you pick up skills. I learned a couple of skills from watching The Office, right? The Office is a great show. You will learn some things of what not to do from watching Michael in The Office. So you can pick up on things that way. You absorb, you try things out. If it doesn't work, you make adaptations and you adapt, you make adjustments, and you try something else. You're never going to be perfect. That's okay too. But I would say get some mentors to talk about gaining people skills if that's something you need to do. What is one skill that AI can't replace that is essential for a project manager? Perfect segue. People skills. AI cannot make me feel good. A person can make me feel good. If I deliver something that is almost great but not quite, a project manager may say to me, hey, listen, it's not quite what we wanted, but this might be okay. We're going to find out. We'll take a look. And hey, you did a great job. That's going to make me feel good. It's going to motivate me to want to do more for that person. If someone comes to me and says, hey, this isn't what we agreed upon, you're 99% of the way there, I need 100, start over. I mean, number one, I was 99. It's pretty darn close, right? Number two, that's not what I want to deal with coming to work every day, and no one else does either. So people skills are what AI can't deliver yet. I don't know what's going to happen. None of us do. But that's where I would say your relationships, that's why it's critical to build these skills, right? Anyone can say you're late on a delivery. A computer can tell me I'm late on a delivery. That's not what I'm adding. What I'm adding is, hey, you're late, but I understand you had some family issues. Your car wouldn't start. Your dog died. Your blah, 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 blah. It all happens. I get it. It's life. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. I'll get someone else to pick up your slack. That's what AI can't do. So that's where I would say those are the skills that can't be replaced just yet. What would you do differently if you were starting out today in project and change management? Starting out today with the knowledge that I have, I would not be so hard on people. I was too focused on the delivery. I was too focused on those constraints, the scope, the budget, the timeline, and not focused enough on the people. That's what I would do differently. And knowing that I know about change management now, I would add that to my skill set earlier because that's what helped solve it. And it took me too long to get into it. I resisted learning something new, and eventually I figured I had to, and I did. And I went, wow, I should have did this years ago, right? I should have done it years ago, and I didn't. And but at least I'm there now. So that is what I would do differently. Where do you see AI having the biggest impact on project management? And do you think it will make change management easier or harder for teams in the future? I see AI having the biggest impact in doing mundane tasks that I don't want to do as a project manager. So, for example, meeting notes. If you have a meeting as a project manager, you're supposed to send out meeting notes. Here's what we talked about. Here's what we agreed to. Here's the delivery of what we agreed to. Let the computer handle that, right? Let AI handle that. I don't want to do it. It's not a good use of my time, and quite frankly, I don't like it. So let that handle that. Status reports. I used to have to build these by hand, sometimes on a project slide with the green and the red and the yellow dots. Let AI do that for me. Where am I? And AI tells me. And then once it tells me, I put in my commentary. Here's why that happened. Here's why we're yellow. Here's why we're red. And so here's what we're going to do about it, and so forth. Also, AI can give you good ideas. Hey, this is my situation. What should I do? Let AI spit out some ideas. You've got to make the ultimate decision on which one you take and move forward with. So let it give you ideas. I think that's where AI is really, really good. What are some tips, suggestions for students wanting to get into project management or OCM aside from learning, getting certifications? Follow people online that talk to project management and organizational change management. ProSci, PROSCI, looks like Prosci, but it's ProSci like science. That's a good company to follow for OCM. Project management, there's a ton of them out there for that. But you want to learn from other people. And I would say you don't have to get the certification, but I think training is a good thing. Now, training sometimes can cost a little money. If you have a job, have your employer, you can present the training opportunity to your employer and say, hey, I'd really like to go to this. It's going to cost $2,000. What do you think? And they may say, sure. They may say, not this year, but next year. That's okay. Eventually, you should be able to get some training budget and you should be able to get them to pay for your training. And that's a way for A, to show your initiative that you want to learn and expand. B, it's a way to learn something without having to worry about the certification. What is the number one red flag you look for to tell you that a project is drifting away from your company's strategic visions? I have checkpoints. I always have checkpoints, minimum quarterly. Maximum monthly. I think any more than that, you're just doing it too often. But if I have a goal for my company, here's what I want my company to do. I then set forth a strategic vision. And every quarter, every 3 months, I check, am I heading towards that? If I'm not, if I find myself drifting too far or find my team drifting too far, I will readjust what they're working on. Or if what we're working on is better, I readjust the goals. That's acceptable as well. So you got to have checkpoints. You always have to be checking in to make sure you are aligned with the business goals, which are going to change. It doesn't have to be an annual thing. It can just be, AI one day was just ChatGPT came out. Okay, let's learn a little bit about it. And at some point in the middle of the year, maybe I change my goal. We want to start using AI. That's okay. So that's how I would do it, is checkpoints. As a project manager, is there specific information regarding the project that you should shield from the team to prevent panic if the project goes south? Good question. I am a believer in transparency. I find shielding does more harm than good in most cases. Now, if the project is something to do with we're going to release this new tool and then we are going to lay off 500 people, that's a different story. That's a different conversation. But I like to have transparency. If something is wrong, I like the team to know it's wrong. Here's our situation. The CEO is not happy because of this. The vice president, the sponsor of the project, wants this to change. We had this other problem. The vendor we were going to use, they went out of business. What do we do? I like to be upfront because what happens then is A, you're honest, you're not hiding anything, so you can't get caught hiding anything. B, you're going to get more ideas. Now, does that raise panic? It could. So depending on how you deliver that message, and again, this comes back to the people skills, you want to deliver that message in the right way. So you may want to talk to a mentor, you may want to talk to your boss, you may want to talk to a colleague. Here's the message I have to deliver. I know I need to deliver it. I know I need to deliver it soon. How can I best deliver that? And sometimes it's not you delivering it. Sometimes it's coming from the sponsor or the CEO that's delivering that message. And that's where change management can help out as well. Right. So that's the situation. When I've shielded my team from something, honestly, I can't think of a time where it was a good thing. It always blows up in my face. I think I'm doing a good thing. They think I'm too controlling. And now I've lost their trust. And once you lose their trust, it's very hard to gain back. So I would try to be transparent. Now, if something's told to you in confidence, obviously you don't share that. If something is told to you in confidence, but you can't ignore it and pretend like it doesn't exist either. So it depends on the situation. And if you have one of these situations that you want to talk about, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to provide some advice on that. Was there a situation where you had to deal with people not understanding the scope of a project? If so, how would you find a solution? Yeah, so my project kickoff meeting should really lay down the scope of the project. But before I have the project kickoff meeting, depending on how many people are involved, I like to reach out to everyone who's attending in advance and have quick one-on-ones so that in the project kickoff meeting, when I say, here's what we're doing, why we're doing it, when we're doing it, and so forth, no one says, I didn't know that. I didn't hear about that. I have a question. I have an objection. I like those meetings to go as smooth as possible. So I like to address all of that up front. Now, when I address it up front, I sometimes do get into the, hey, no, I thought we were doing more. Well, sometimes it's a budget issue, sometimes it's a timeline issue. So that's when I lean on my project sponsor. If I only have so much money and so much time to deliver something, I can't give a giant scope. I just can't do it. I don't have the team and the resources to do it. Now, if timeline is driving everything, one of the three is going to be driving everything, right? So if timeline is driving it, we have to be first to market. Okay, then we have to shrink the scope. By shrinking it, we get it out faster. Or if we leave it large, quality is going to be a problem, right? We don't have time to test everything. So which risk would you like to take? Which of the bad options is the best for you? That's a line I like to say. Pick one of my bad options. Yes, I know they're all bad. I know you're going to complain. I know you're going to blame me. Pick one of my bad options because that's the only options we have. And once they hear that, they generally go, all right, it's not my decision. It's the project sponsor's decision. I am the one who relays that decision to the team. But ultimately, it is the project sponsor's decision, and they're the ones who have to defend it, not me. Now, will I throw them under the bus? Absolutely not. I need them to explain the decision, and I need them to explain why that decision was made so that I can relay that in a way that makes everyone feel comfortable.
Okay, thank you
A lot
very
of good
much.
questions here. Really appreciate them. I mean, really got me thinking on some of these and thinking back to some of my earlier career time. So a lot of good questions. And if I can help anyone avoid the pitfalls that I've had, I'm happy to do it because, failure is a great teacher.
Yes.
God, does it hurt to learn that way?
Yeah, especially the the fa learn from the failure that someone did it by themselves is the
Yes.
quickest way to learn. And I'm very proud of the people who asked questions today. You guys did ask good questions and showed that you
Yeah,
pay
very good.
attention and you were able to connect what we have learned so far in this class to what Kevin is talking about today. So job well done. Thank you guys very much.